Hello my friends all over the world, wherever you are. William Poloniak here again at Whole Health Foundation. Today I'm doing another garden harvest juice, and today I'm using red Swiss chard, about a dozen cucumbers, and a number of other greens. Let's look at my other ingredients. Now here you can see my carrots. I have 3 wild dandelion plants, my red Swiss chard of course, the cucumbers, about a half a dozen zucchinis, 1 huge celery plant, French sorrel, about 20 Anaheim chilies, ginger. As well as my ginger, I have about a half cup of tomatoes, 170 grams of turmeric, 1 clove of garlic, and about 4 small beets. Now let's make some juice. I want to point out that I'm using the front-loading feed tube that eliminates blowback 100%. If you get any blowback, it hits the angle, bounces back and forth, and if it blows anything out, it'll come out about an inch or 2 out of the top. And I'm using the near zero blowback cutter, which shreds produce 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees centigrade cooler. So the first thing I'll do is install my cutter. And I'm going to start with my greens, and I'm going to use the J grid, J for juicing. And we'll start with my greens. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is put in 3 or 4 ice cubes to cool down this cutter, because it's a very hot and humid day here today. So let's cool down the cutter. And I'm going to start with my wild dandelion. Next I'm going to do my red Swiss chard. Now I'll put in some turmeric. And some more red Swiss chard. Turmeric, and then the garlic. We'll do the beets next. Now for my ginger. So I'm going to put in 3 more ice cubes. Whenever you're juicing on a hot day, put ice cubes in more frequently. Next, my tomatoes. More ginger. Turmeric. And next we'll do my cucumbers. And I'll put in the rest of my Anaheim peppers. Now for some celery. Now celery is very, very fibrous, so you're going to want to put in less celery and often put in more ice cubes. We're up to 20 already. So 3 more ice cubes. For more French sorrel. I want to point out, because the cutter is doing such a good job, you're going to be tempted to put in more produce than you should. But resist that temptation. Less produce is more effective. Here's the last of my French sorrel. After I do a couple of carrots, I'm going to take the grid out and clean it. And then I'm going to switch from the J grid to the number 2 grid, which is better for carrots. The number 2 grid is actually too big for carrots, so I'll set that aside and clean it. Put in the number 2 grid, which has 1/8 inch holes, and that's the best one for carrots. And I'll continue with carrots. Now, one thing I love about the front-loading feed tube is I can see in here whether there's some produce not shred or not. Usually there's a plug down in here where you can't see it. So to make sure, I'm going to put a couple of handfuls of carrot pulp in there and force that last plug through. Now my last step is going to be to clean the grid. Set that aside and clean it later. And clean my feed tube and my cutter. And then reassemble everything when it's cleaned. And then mix my produce to make some juice. It always makes for a better mix when you go in both directions. Now I'm going to take my first 2 cloves full of pulp and put it into the juicing tray, centered left to right, centered front to back, and adjust it if need be all the way back. Back it off a little bit and turn on the machine. Continue filling cloths. Now I'm going to demonstrate my 6 cloth less work method. And if you observe closely, there's a rhythm to my procedure here. Tight a package as you can make it, set it aside. 3 scoops of pulp. And you fold it in thirds like they came packaged. A little crease at the back, and watch my folding technique. You grab this with your fingers and tuck it under into a tight package and continue. You might advance that a little bit. Grab this with your fingers and tuck it under in as tight a package as you can make. Here's my 6 cloth less work method. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top. 2 more cloths in the tray, centered left to right, centered front to back, all the way back, back it off, and continue. Now if there's a puddle of juice in the collection bowl, there are 2 ways to do the less work 6 cloth method. One, you never throw the pulp away. Put it in the puddle of juice to absorb that juice, because as you can see it's puddling here. And we'll go ahead with 3 more scoops. Nice tight package. Watch again as I tuck that under and as tight a package as I can make. Flatten that, set it aside. The next less work 6 cloth method, again, you don't throw away your pulp. What I'm going to do is put 2 scoops, not 3, because this patty is getting thicker and thicker, and later on we'll put only 1 scoop. And when you're on your last cloth, advance that all the way. Nice tight package, flatten it. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top. 2 more cloths in the tray, centered left to right, make sure it's on there securely, centered front to back, all the way back it off. Because I've got puddling here, I'm going to hold this with my thumb and very, very carefully pour this in. And as I've mentioned before, the first time I did that, I got it all over the countertop and all over the floor. You have to be very, very careful. So I noticed that I've got some puddling in here, but on this first cloth, I'm going to put in 2 scoops. A little crease here. Flatten that, set it aside. This time I'm going to take the pulp and put it in the puddle in the collection bowl. Crush it up, put it in the puddle to absorb all that juice. Let's mix that up a little bit. And then we'll put 3 scoops in this cloth. That's it all the way. Now watch again. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top. And it looks like my bowl is full. So what I'm going to do before I press more juice is I'm going to put this into bottles. I'm going to leave about 10%, 8 to 10% for filtered water, because for me the juice is too concentrated. So I'm going to top it off with either filtered or distilled water. And let's make more juice when we fill these bottles up. Now, toward the end of the juicing process, these patties are getting very, very thick. So what I'm going to do is put 1 scoop instead of 2 on top and fold it again in thirds. We don't want this patty to get very thick because then it won't fit in the juice tray. So advance that all the way when you're on your last cloth. Pull this forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top. 2 new cloths in the tray. And as you can see, they're just fitting in there with 1 scoop. So if I had put 2, they wouldn't have fit at all. All the way back it off a little bit, and again, 1 scoop instead of 2 scoops on top of the spent pulp. I'm down to my last 2 sets of cloths, and what I'm going to do with this spent pulp is I'm going to form it into a very tight package and press it again, because I want to show you how you can get 10% more juice if you reprocess this spent pulp. And you can do that because we have a solid bottom plate on the bottom of the Whole Health Foundation model, which will never break. You can leave it up as long as you want. You can leave it up all day if you wanted to, but it wouldn't take that long to get all the juice out. So let's advance that all the way, and we'll package this again into a tight package. Now, as you can see, I have 3 double packets of repackaged spent pulp, and what I'm going to do is press this again and use a measuring beaker to show how much extra juice we can get using the Whole Health Foundation Premium Model Juicer. And incidentally, you can upgrade any Norwalk juicer by buying the premium parts and installing them yourself, or send it to me and I'll install it for you. So we're going to center this left to right, center it front to back, all the way back, and back it off a little. And as soon as I get traction here and juice flow, I'll advance that a little bit more. And then all the way. Now there we have 4 ounces so far. And as long as you have a steady stream, you can leave this up indefinitely. So I'm going to wait until that becomes droplets. There's a little more than 8 ounces. Notice how the steady stream is turned into drips. So we'll take these 2 cloths out of here. I'm going to repackage these again and press 1 more time. But let's put the 3rd set in here now. Now I've repackaged this spent pulp a 2nd time because the packets were so thick, and already I've got 18 ounces of juice. That's more than 1 full bottle of juice, and because my container is getting over full, I'm going to back this off, pour it in the container over here, and continue pressing the other packets. Well, there's another 4 ounces of juice. And we still have 2 more packets of juice to press. I could probably have left that in there longer, but I think these packets are too thick, so I'm going to do one at a time until they're thin enough to put 2 in there. Well, there's another 7 ounces. So we got 19 on the first press, another 7, 26 ounces more. So let's fill the rest of the bottles. Well, my friends, as you can see on this batch of juice, I'm getting 5, 10, 15, 20, 22 bottles. And remember, 2 of these were from pressing the already spent pulp by repackaging it and using the Whole Health Foundation Premium Model Juicer. And we have enough for a taste test. So let's do a taste test. So here we have enough juice that came from a large batch of cucumbers, some red Swiss chard, and my usual ingredients with carrots, and French sorrel, of course, for my greens. Very delicious. A little on the watery side because of the abundance of cucumbers, but cucumbers are very good for the hair, the skin, and the nails. So whenever possible, juice cucumbers. Well, I hope you like what you've seen, my friends, and if you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to contact me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfound.com. See you in the next video.